Hey guys, so in this video, I've still got the car taken apart, but I'm going to show some clips of a project that I did a couple weeks ago before I realized that I had to take the motor out of the car, and that's inspecting and rebuilding the dry sump oil pump, which is that guy right there. So I run a 4-stage dry sump pump. You can see one pressure section there, and then 3 scavenge sections here. I hadn't taken it apart since I built the motor several years back, and like I said, with about 3,500 miles on it, I just wanted to make sure it was okay. And actually, it's a really good thing I did, because I found some damage in the pump that was, I believe, from the original build of the pump. It had been like that for a while, but I'll show you all that and what that entails. It's actually a pretty simple process. That's where the oil pump goes, like right where there's kind of nothing there next to the oil pan. So I've got the pump off on the table. While I was in there, I wanted to replace the front seal and just do a quick kind of inspection of it. I did, so I got that out. I'll show you that in a second, which has other issues. So this is my really freaking messy workbench. So as I mentioned before, I pulled the oil pump apart to inspect it. This is just to kind of give you a rough idea. So that's what the pump looks like when it's together. This one's a 4-stage. It's a Nelson Racing Engines pump. 3 scavenge sections, 1 pressure section. Here's the pressure regulator and rear bearing housing. So what I found when I took it apart is all the scavenge sections were fine. The main shaft, which is right here, looks great. No bearing damage or anything like that. Tiny little bit of scuffing around the just in front of the seal. That'll just polish off. These are the keys that keep the gears aligned on the shaft, and each of these different sections are sealed by O-rings. And then here's what one of the gears looks like, in case you haven't ever seen the inside of a dry sump pump. So there you go. On most of these, the one that's keyed rides on the main shaft, which is obviously powered by the pulley, and then the other gear rides on an idler shaft. The idler shaft is fixed, and they just rotate around the idler shaft, which is right here. And you can probably already see one of the problems. So what happens is, this is the pressure regulator side of the pump. Idler shaft sits in here, gets oiled from pressurized oil from this passage, which then goes up the shaft, lubricates each of the bearings, or sorry, each of the gears. So somehow this, which I don't actually know what the hell this is, I think it was part of the pump assembly, was actually literally there, along with a big old gob of chewed up aluminum, which came from obviously here, that locked the shaft in place. You can kind of see here where it's chewed the crap out of the bottom of the end of the shaft. So instead of this shaft being fixed, it was spinning around in the pump. This is the driven gear, or the idler gear for the pressure section. By the way, this is the powered one for the pressure sensor. Pressure section. The pressure gears are steel. The vacuum gears or scavenge gears are aluminum. Not that matters too much. So the good thing is the pressure section gears are actually in good shape. The bad thing is that chewed the shit out of the aluminum, rotated this shaft, chewed the shit out of this shaft. This instead of riding freely here was seized to the shaft. And what else? Oh, yeah, and here's the, nope, that's not it. Yeah, it is. This is the pressure section housing. It's kind of hard to tell on the camera here, but you can see all that scoring in there, and if you get your finger in there, there's a pretty sizable lip. And by sizable, I mean it's like millimeter or whatever, but it's still, like you can see on the side is perfectly smooth. That's where it wasn't chewing it up. The side is obviously rough. Fortunately, this all comes before the oil filter, so none of this crap got into the motor. But clearly, I'm kind of shocked the thing was actually working, because it was working that way for quite a while. I could feel a little bit of binding in the shaft, but not binding, but like a little bit of drag in the shaft. But it was oil pressure at high RPMs was great. Oil pressure at low RPMs, like idle, was like 20 pounds. So it was a little after the engine was hot. So it was a little low. But I'm just shocked that it ran as long as it did, and it did a couple dyno days. Several dyno sessions rather, and tuning sessions and things like that. So glad I caught this before I took it out on the track. I called NRE, and they're working on getting all these parts to me so I can put the thing back together. But that's annoying as hell. Okay, so I've got all of the parts back for the dry sump pump. And if you've never seen a dry sump pump completely disassembled before, there you go. The excuse me. There's like crap all over the place here. Obviously, everything's cleaned up, and I've made a made a clean space on my bench for once in my life to do the reassembly. So for those of you not familiar with how a dry sump pump works, we'll go through the kind of basics. There's a bunch of videos out there on these, but so this is a 4-stage pump, 1, 2, 3, 4. In this particular pump, this one has 3 scavenge sections, 1, 2, 3, and 1 pressure section. So most oil pumps in a standard car literally just have one stage for basically it sucks the oil out of the pan and pressurizes the oil and shoves it back into the motor. So basically that. In a dry sump, you've got as many as like 7, 8 different scavenge sections that suck the oil out of the pan, out of the valley, depending on your motor and your setup. So these 3 sections literally just suck oil out of the pan. In my oil pan, as you can see, I've got 3 scavenge lines out of the pan. So like I said, they're all just coming off the pan. There's a scraper in there, blah blah blah. So these suck oil actually out of this side. So this is when it's in the car. This side is down. And then these gears in here mesh together on the shafts, and as they're spinning like this, the oil gets pulled in the outside towards the middle, and then it squeezes the oil out, and then just kind of starts the cycle over again. So those guys fit in there. Excuse me. On the scavenge section here, as you can see, there's 3 inlets, but only 1 outlet. A lot of pumps are set up this way, where basically inside the pump there's a manifold that connects all 3 of these sections to this one. So as you can see, these divider plates here are closed on this end, where this on the suction side, and they're open on the out side. This one obviously divides the pressure section, so that's sealed off, and then they all so all the oil just kind of routes back out through this dash 16 line over here and then over into the tank. On the front of the pump, you've got the seal. I already replaced the seal, and then the bearings in there, and then excuse me, and then on the other side of the pump you have the pressure regulator. So this screw and jam nut, as you unscrew it, it reduces the pressure. You screw it in, it increases the pressure. So you set that to whatever you want. The pressure gets bypassed, and so any of the oil pressure that gets bypassed goes out out through here. And there's also for oiling on the idler shaft, the oil goes in there and then comes out these different holes to lubricate the other gears. So this is the drive shaft. So there's one powered shaft and the idler shaft. So each of these gears are the drive gears, and as you can see, it has the half moon keys to lock in each of those gears in place. And then these guys are not keyed, so they just spin freely on here over those oil shafts. So yeah, and then there's these 4 screws that hold the whole body together, with O-rings that go in these grooves on either side of each of the sections. And then you've just got the nuts that hold it together. These are just that holds the drive shaft in, another oil seal, and lock ring or snap ring for the back of the rear bearing. So yeah, there's actually not that much to it. They're really straightforward. This is literally the first time I've ever rebuilt one, so it's not like it's rocket science. You just have to be really careful to make sure that everything's clean. All right, so like you saw at the beginning of the video, that was actually taken after I put the pump back together. So obviously the pump is back together. And I put it back in the car. I didn't film any of that stuff because it's boring. But the good thing is the pump is making pressure like it obviously should, and everything was spinning smoothly as it should. So I've had it in there for actually a couple weeks now. I'm finally catching up on posting this video. So everything with the pump is working great, and happy with how it turned out. In the meantime, I had a completely unrelated issue with a lifter going out, not because of oiling, but or not because of the pump rather. But that'll be a different video where I had to pop the motor out and do all that fun stuff. So anyway, thanks very much for watching.